In the video I shared with you on, if you're not called to be a prophet, don't step into the office. Don't step into the calling. Don't do this if you are not called. I shared part of my testimony. But let me share this with you, what God shared with me this morning. God shared, he had me to go to 2 Kings chapter 7. And we all know 2 Kings chapter 7 about the lepers, going into the enemy's camp and getting the victory. But what God showed me was the first two verses. He showed me where Elijah was speaking to the people of Israel, and the captain had a dispute over what it was that Elijah was saying. He wanted to contradict, or he couldn't believe, he didn't see how God or anybody else or anything was going to be able to change the situation of Israel in such a short period of time. So he was complaining about the prophecy that Elijah had given. But the prophecy that Elijah had given was that by this time tomorrow, even though they were under siege, that the enemy's camp was going to be invaded, and they were going to get the victory and have the wheat and the barley that they needed and things of that nature in order to come out of the famine. But it blessed me. It blessed my soul, because God said to me that, don't look at your situation. Don't look at the 7 areas that are really topsy-turvy and turned upside down. Look at me and see me and know the great big God that I am. And if I give my word on a thing, that it is already done. It doesn't matter what it looks like. And I come to encourage you that your life may look like it's turned upside down. You can't see no way out. You don't see how God is going to fix it. You're looking at the situation and you're saying it's going to take a miracle, but we serve a miracle worker. There are many of you who commented that you were in the same situation, in the same state. There were some of you who were sleeping in your cars. There were some of you and your children were homeless. You were living with somebody else, and there were other aspects of things that you could connect with. Even though you're a prophet, even though you have a prophetic call on your life, you see yourself and you are put into this place where it seems like you were under siege, where everything has been taken from you and you have no choice but to trust God. But God is moving on our behalf. I've been hearing a lot of prophets saying that the struggle is over and things of that nature, but I needed to hear from God for myself as a prophet, because I needed to hear God's voice telling me and assuring me, not through somebody else, but because I hear God's voice to confirm to me that this is his voice. Not to say that I doubt or anything of that nature, but the same way God used 7 angels, allowed me to see in the spirit, in a vision, these 7 angels come and take siege of my stuff and take it away. I needed to hear the voice of the Lord for myself, telling me that this is restoration, that he is going to bring everything back and restore and bring me out of this hunger and bring me out of this situation, and in this area, in all of those areas, to be restored and to be to receive restitution for the things that were stolen from me. I needed to hear from God for myself, and I come to you in the form of an Elijah, speaking to the house, to those of us who are called by his name. And I say to you that no matter what the situation is, it may look like it's turned upside down, it's topsy-turvy, it's going to take a miracle, like you don't know how you're going to get out of this. Hear the word of the Lord. We are coming out of this, not because somebody else said it, but because God says that this is what we are coming out of, that we shall eat. We shall eat the good of the land, that we are the head and not the tail, that we are above and not beneath, that we are lenders and not borrowers, that we are the righteousness of God, that God, we are blessed in the storehouse and blessed in the fields. We are blessed in our going out and blessed in our coming in, even though we may not be able to physically see it right now, but in the spirit realm, you have to reach up and grab and receive this word that the Lord has given, because we are already there. We just have not possessed it in order to see it right before us, but you have to believe it. You cannot be like the general who decided to complain and make all of these excuses. Even if this happens, even if that happens, there's no way we're going to be able to see it. But like Elisha gave the word of the Lord to this general that was complaining, you won't be able to see it. It's going to happen, but you're not going to see it. Now, let me also say this. This is something that God said to me, that there are many of us, people look at the prophets and think that all prophets, we should automatically be blessed and prosperous and things of that nature. But those of us who are coming from the backside of the desert, who the Holy Spirit had to train and raise up, there were some things and some areas in our lives that we didn't know because we weren't in the prophetic. Even though the Holy Spirit is the greatest teacher, but there were some deliverances that needed to take place. There were some things in us that God needed to fix, the love of money and possessions and things of that nature. So certain things that were taken away, it was because we needed to learn to trust in God and to put our trust in God and in nobody else, so that when we are in these situations and the situations that are coming, we will know that no matter what is going on in the world and no matter what it looks like on the surface, that God is still in control, that God is still the one who's blessing, that God is still opening doors of opportunities and making ways, even though it looks impossible. Others may be hungry and not knowing how they're going to make it through and things of that nature, but a table is going to be set before us because we are able to go into the enemy's camp and take back everything that he stole, go into the enemy's camp and be able to plunder it because we've already been here. So the things that we are missing, the things that we are lacking, we're able and we are set free to set the captives free because we are being liberated from these things. We now have the power to liberate others because of the struggle. So it doesn't matter what people say, that this is what the prophet should have. When God is working on the prophet, especially those of us who he is raising up today and doing a new thing, we may not have the things that we ought to have, but it's coming because the promises of the prophet, we will be able to speak things out of the air and into existence and things of that nature. And even though we have the power and the authority to do it, we had to pass the training. We had to go through the training to get to the place where, as lepers, compared to the prophets who are already in operation, they see us as lepers, and maybe not in a physical state, but they see us in the spirit as, you don't have this and you don't have that and you don't have the credentials and you don't qualify for this and you don't have the ranking and you don't have the title and you don't have the years put in, and I got testimonies and I have all of these things. I have the track record to show that the evidence of what God is doing, but so does those who God is training up on the backside of the desert. You just have not heard the testimony. You just have not heard or seen in the spirit what it is that God took and is taking those that he is raising us up on. We have receipts and stamps and things of that nature as well. It's just that we don't have the tracking of being able to speak to people because God has not released us to yet. So people who have this type of track record, they look at the up and coming and they look at us and say, okay, you're lepers, you're lepers. You don't have the things that you need. But it's the lepers who's going to go into the enemy's camp. It is the leper who has the boldness and the confidence because they suffer so much hell on the backside of the desert that you are not afraid to walk up and see, what do I have to lose? I've been homeless. I've been, living in somebody's basement. I've been living in my car. I've been rejected by my own family. I've been ostracized. I've been rejected. I've been the black sheep and have people's foot on my neck. What do I have to lose? You don't have nothing to lose. So it is those of us who God is raising up with nothing to lose, who's going to go into the enemy's camp, who's bold enough to go into the enemy's camp and see what the world is going on in here. And as we go in, God is going to cause the noise to take place, the ruckus to take place, so that we can go in and we are the deliverers. We are the ones who's going to be able to take back everything that belongs to us and take from the enemy, plunder the enemy's camp and take those things that belong to the enemy and bring it back to the house of Israel. So be encouraged, no matter what it is that you are going through, no matter how it looks, no matter what you're facing, no matter what people are saying, no matter how people are rejecting you and overlooking you and not calling your name and, just rejecting and just not receiving you. No matter what your state is right now, you're homeless and, you don't know why God is doing this to you and you feel cursed and you feel like, everything is just working against you. And the more you try to answer the call, the more hectic see, it's a test, and God wanted us to see that this place where we are, and where we have been is over. And this is the time to step into and to reap the benefits. But we must be bold and confident enough to believe God, to receive the promises of God. And I know it is hard for many of us because we've been taking hit after hit after hit. If it's not one thing, it's another thing. And God had us in that holding pattern and in that place in the ring to teach us how to fight, to teach us how to war. But he has also been doing deliverance, massive deliverance, and bringing healing and bringing encouragement and bringing change and building us up and tearing us down to build us back up. You know, the same things that he's going to use us to do, he's been doing in us on the backside of the desert. You know, we talk about this cutting down and this plucking up. There were some things that needed to be plucked up and cut down in us that needed to be rooted up and rooted out. But God has also been putting the seed and planting the seed in us and making us trees that are planted by the rivers of living water. He has been putting seed in us to give birth and give life to the things that he is calling for us to do. So be encouraged. The time, it is over for hunger and lack. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. There are things that are coming in and going to begin to pour in, but we have to believe it. You have to come out of the unbelief because you've been here so long and believe it. You don't have to believe it, believe God. Believe that because God said it. Believe that because God is God. Believe that because God, this is the promise of God, that you have a promise, that you are the righteousness of God. I've never seen the righteous forsaken or a seed begging bread. When you really looked at your life, no matter how bad the situation was, you could still see God in the midst of the badness because he still took care of you. He still made sure you had a roof over your head, even though you had to sleep in your car. He made sure that you and your 5 kids still had a roof over your head, even though you had to be in somebody else's house. He made sure that you were protected and no harm came to you. He still gave his angels charge over you to protect you in all your ways, no matter what it looked like, whether you was right or wrong. Because of the call on your life, God has been protecting you all of your life, even when you couldn't see it. But there was work that he had to do in you so that he can work through you. So in this state and in this place of lack and famine and hunger and not having, this is the time now where we're in a great place, where God promises us, but that by this time tomorrow, we will walk into and step into a place with honey and barley and wheat and treasures and things of that nature. And it's not for us to be able to piece and put pieces together and see it. We just have to believe it and trust God that he is God, and that if he has said it, it is already done. Just receive it. And our tomorrow may not be the day tomorrow, but it's already done. Whenever that tomorrow shows up, things are falling into place, into divine alignment, to bring all things back into order. You know, I've spoken to many of you that follow me that, you know, with the 7 eagles, white eagles came in and just flew away, just took talents and came and swooped down and just flew away with 7 areas of my life. And it took me like 2 months for the figure out and to really see the manifestation of the 7 areas that were taken away in my life. And as they swooped away and I lost my job and lost my health insurance, lost relationships, lost, you know, everything that I had in 7 different areas. It was like, what the world is going on here, Lord? But I needed to go through of what it was that I was going through. But it wasn't in vain because God was working on me. For the past couple of months, not having a job, not having an income, all I had to do was trust in God. Trust God for everything. And in that trust in God and going without, God was working on me, delivering me, taking me through different deliverance sessions. I was watching this lady, Bev Tucker, and going through the deliverance in my mind and in my mentality and going through different phases of deliverance. Even though I had been through other deliverance with other people, but the things that was in me that I didn't know was in me that needed to come up out of me, God was bringing that. He was speaking to me and healing me and delivering me, so that when he sets me and used me free to go out in here to set others free, that I will be able to use what he gave me and what he delivered me from to be able to deliver somebody else, to bring liberation to somebody else, to set the captives free in somebody else. But he had to work on me these past couple of months. But he gave a word today. And it's over. And let me just share this last little thing. Yesterday, I was coming home from with one of my girlfriends, which she's the only friend that I really have right now. But she was bringing me home, and I happened to look up, and I looked up into this clear blue sky, and I saw this vision of this angel, and the angel was just looking at me. Now, it was a great big ginormous angel, and I saw the face of it just looking at me with a smile on it, and I was looking like for maybe 20 seconds, and I said to myself, if this is an angel, then I'm going to see wings or something. And I know a lot of you, you have something to say about these angels with wings and things of that nature. But this is what I needed. This is what I needed to see, to make sure that this was an angel looking at me in this vision. So I saw the angel's wing, not the whole wing, but just a part of it, so that I could know that there were wings attached to this angel that was looking at me and smiling at me in this vision. Now, then we went through this tunnel like a bridge. It wasn't really a tunnel, like a bridge, but it blocked my sight from being able to continue to look at this angel while it was looking at me. But by the time we got under the bridge and to the light where we were going to, I looked up in the air and the angel was gone. It was nowhere to be found. But then this morning when I wake up, and then God brought me to this place, it was like he was saying to me, there were 7 white eagles that came in that represented my angels, that came in and took these things so that I could work in you and work on you and work through you and prepare you for where it is that you're going. This famine that you've been in, this land that you have been in, it's over. And seeing that angel smiling at me, it gave me the confirmation that you passed the test, that you made it through this. And then this morning, getting this word of 2 Kings chapter 7, Elijah speaking to Israel, it encouraged me. And God let me know it doesn't matter what it looks like. Don't try to figure out how it's going to happen. Just know that if I gave my word and if I said it, it is already done. So I encourage you to receive this word, to believe this word. What God has said, it is already done. By this time tomorrow, we are coming out. We are out of this place. And those of us who are lepers, we have no problem with being bold enough to go into the places where we need to go and to do what we need to do to make sure that we get our stuff and to be able to liberate other people into receiving the stuff that we receive as lepers. Even those prophets who look down and say that we aren't trained and we aren't prepared and we don't have a track record and we don't have this and we don't have that. We're bold enough not to hold anything against them, but to know that it was a part of the training, so that when God sends us, we don't care what nobody else says or thinks, old or new prophets. We're going to move on what God has said and do what God told us to do. And then we're going to bring liberation and freedom and food and supply and everything else to us all, not holding a grudge against anybody else. Because as God said in all of the other videos, people are going to need us. But you just be assured and be encouraged and know that the famine is over and all things are working together for your good, whether you can see it or not. This is Let's Talk Kingdom. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a blessed and prosperous day on purpose. It's over.